Hello and welcome back to my channel, which is dedicated to philosophy, music, violin playing, and art and culture in general. So, the topic for today is the basic principles of Edmund Husserl's phenomenological method. And in his article Phenomenology, Husserl reveals the concept of phenomenology as a universal science, as a primary science, and as a universal eidetic ontology, drawing a parallel with Leibniz. And in addition, he writes that the ancient understanding of philosophy as a universal science, philosophy in the spirit of Plato and Cartesian sense, which covers the entire body of knowledge, is already more convincing nowadays. All rational problems, all those problems that for one reason or another have come to be considered as philosophical, as the main, and have their place within the framework of phenomenology, finding in the ultimate source of transcendental experience or eidetic intuition their own form and means of their solution. So, to master this new method, it's necessary to gather all the great ideas in your own mind and let them fight. And Husserl combined two contradictory tendencies, the struggle for the transcendental. Since the beginning of 19th century, Neo-Kantians and positivists led by John Stuart argue about the question of the transcendental origin or empirical origin of moral values or mathematical origin, and so on and so forth. And second, the anti-metaphysical tendency is against abstractions, the separation of philosophy from life. And we can mention here, of course, Nietzsche, but also Bergson, also existentialism, the struggle for the concept of concrete in the philosophy. And the goal is to directly contemplate the meaning of it's the period of the philosophy of arithmetic in Husserl's observations. And this goal to contemplate the meaning absolutely independent. The types of contemplation are categorical and sensual. And however, their independence is then questioned. Categorical contemplation is available to us directly, sensory indirectly. For Husserl, it's so. Ordinary experience is derived from the transcendental. It's strange for us, but for Husserl, it's undoubtful. Husserl introduces the concept of transsubjectivity. It's the key word for his observations, investigations. Transsubjectivity is the result of reflection. And semantic entities come to the fore. According to Husserl, the world of meanings and the world of things are connected, of course. Husserl also introduces the concept of epoche. It's the ancient Greek roots of this word, epoche, refraining from value judgments. And this theme is very important also for Husserl. In some his observations, in some his investigations, he emphasizes that the essence of the phenomenological attitude and its epoche consists in the fact that I, as a subject, as a person, I reach the last conceivable point of view for experience and condition, in which I become an uninterested contemplator, just observator, contemplator of my natural worldly self and the life of the self, myself, which is at the same time only a special part or a special layer of my now revealed transcendental life. I am disinterested insofar I am abstain from all worldly interests that I still have. And as I am a philosopher, I rise about them and contemplate them, take them as well as my entire transcendental ego as topics of description. So, in the logical investigations of the origin of the transition from descriptive phenomenology to transcendental phenomenology is the significant point. And so, the principles of the method. The first principle is the principle of non-reference. It's introduced something like this. Any reasoning is to start from the beginning. So from null, from absolutely nothing, we know nothing. In other words, considering the experience of the world, what can be abandoned and what is necessary. For descriptive phenomenology, the main task is to purify our experience from implicit presuppositions, prejudgments. Husserl here relies on Descartes, of course, as you see, but Descartes focuses maybe more on ego, and Husserl focuses more on cogito, or on our cognition as itself. Some parallels with Buddhism we can mention. So check everything I say as a gold blacksmith checks gold. The second mythological principle, the principle of essence Discretion, auf Deutsch in German Wesenanschau. Essence Discretion is the art of phenomenologist. The distinction between categorical and sensory contemplation, and the transcendental experience is the semantic layer of life. Husserl shows the example of 3 points and Trinity, and looking at these 3 points on the table or on the desk or on the white sheet of paper, we see the essence of the Trinity in this moment. We don't need to check them, yes? And this is pure reflective discretion. It doesn't add any new layer, but only discovers and reveals in the flow of our experience. So, and colors, white sheet of paper and these black dots are sensual contemplation. And maybe in my point of view, in abstract painting, there was an attempt to distinct these, purify in our observation, in our contemplate of colors, maybe. So, if you look and close your eyes, you can thereby cut off the sensory flow. And what will remain in memory, just in our memory, this of German Entwurf, skiz, it's categorical contemplation. In other words, it means getting rid of opinions, prejudices, and etc., and so on and so forth. The method of reduction, phenomenological reduction, that is the derivation from the brackets. This is a way to distract attention from the unimportant, and there is a theoretical model and practical implementation of reduction. Theoretical description of the main steps. Implementation, in fact, means a certain revolution in the life of a phenomenologist. In Husserl, the concept of phenomenon is changing during this 20th century, during this time, and it's not opposed to the essence, but there is the essence itself, this phenomenon. As it manifests itself, it's not only our appearance. Phenomenological reduction means the perception of the meaning of the world and not the world as an appearance or part of it. This also includes the concept of epoche, of course, as a rejection of value judgments also. And so it's the phenomenological reduction. The next stage is eidetic reduction, so-called eidetic reduction. It's carried out within the framework of the revealed sphere of individual mental life, highlighting the essential forms of psychological being, maybe. In arbitrary variations of the actual givens of consciousness, we see universal types or eidos, and we know this word thanks to Plato, of course. These types of experience and objects and cognition is based on eidos not only in phenomenology but in general. Eidos is an invariant with respect to the phenomenon. An invariant is something that is absolutely unchangeable for all of us. Transcendental reduction can be built on top of psychological and eidetic reductions as a stage of deeper purification of the sphere of immanent experience. If the phenomenological psychological reduction led us or is aimed at revealing the flow of our mental experiences, and the eidetic one is the discretion of pure types of essence, pure types of experience and objects, then the transcendental reduction is aimed at describing the very structure of consciousness, our own consciousness, as an experience. Transcendental reduction implies bracketing not only what has undergone psychological and eidetic reduction, but also everything spiritual and eidetic, also in art and music and so on. The contents of the phenomena of my actual mental life cease to be a subject of interest. Moreover, I am no longer interested in my own existence as a psychological subject. The transcendental epoche extends not only the real world, but also to all possible ideal worlds. So, these 4 steps were crucial and significant points for Husserl's Phenomenology article and his investigations. And thank you for your attention. See you in the next video. All good to you.